the ultimate get your lighters out song. It became a big hit, and it was another very accessible song, and I think that probably 1 million or so people bought Motley Crue's album because of Home Sweet Home, and were quite shocked that the other stuff wasn't all Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home se volvió el éxito más grande de Motley Crue hasta la fecha, y las ventas del álbum Theater of Pain superaron los 4 millones. La industria discográfica se peleaba por capitalizar el lado suave del metal.
And that became the cliche. Every metal band would release the power ballad. Every glam band had it. Give me a glam band, I'll tell you their second single is always a power ballad.
And it was definitely a formula that, you know, people, even in this room, had, you know, used for. Basically, it was you put out a record, the first song's a heavy one. Second one's a ballad. And it worked pretty much every time with every band.
Bands were selling 3 million. You know, very few bands ever made it to the 4 million. But if you had that big hit, that would send you into the 4 million. And that was usually the ballad. It was almost like you had to put out a power ballad on your album in order for it to do well.
Record companies, they do that all the time. You know, if one's good, 100's better. And you went ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And you had the W bands, you know, the White Lions, the White Snakes, the Wingers, the Warrants. And it got so processed and so refined that it became pablum. Idiots. And then it got even worse because then it was, hey, I got an idea. Let's unplug. Thanks, Tesla. What's metal about that? So now all the metal bands are playing acoustic songs. Extreme. Mr. Big. Just to be the next to be with you. You. And then it became this whole unspoken thing on MTV, like, if you can't unplug, you're not really a musician. You know what? Come see Tracy Chapman or Paul Simon plug into 2 Marshall stacks and ride the lightning.
A medida que más y más actuaciones anotaban un éxito comercial con baladas de fuerza, se intensificó la presión de las marcas. La fórmula era sencilla. Las bandas de metal estaban vendiendo mucho y se estaban vendiendo.
I hate that song. I had no intention of writing that song. The record was done. The record was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Donnie Ienner called up and said, I don't hear the single. You got to give me a single like Love in an Elevator. I need something like that. So that night I wrote Cherry Pie, sent it to him. He lived with it over the weekend, and all of a sudden, the album's called Cherry Pie. The record's called Cherry Pie. I'm doing cherry pie eating contests. The single's Cherry Pie, right? If I'm lying, I'm dying. And my legacy's cherry pie. Everything about me is cherry pie. I'm a cherry pie guy. I could shoot myself in the head for writing that song.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
I think the decline of Western civilization really opened people's eyes up to metal. After seeing the movie, I was kind of like, man, there are a lot of creeps in Los Angeles, aren't there?
Do you wish, Chris?
When you saw the Chris Holmes part, and he's just guzzling it in the pool, and I saw that, and what was funny, all of a sudden became very sad.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
My theory on everything in life has always been, you know, if you throw a ball up in the air, it's gonna come down. And I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, I knew that at some point it was going to happen. The difference was that I didn't expect for it to happen quite as fast as it did.
The Dow plunged 23%, wiping out $500 billion.
We're looking at a depression.
When your mom and dad says everything's good in moderation, it's true. You know, you too much, it falls off. Too much dope, you OD. You know, I mean, where do you go? Payback's a bitch.
We did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages.
There are perhaps as many as 300,000 people who have already been exposed to the AIDS virus.
A medida que los 80 llegaban a su fin, el optimismo norteamericano se desvanecía. Lo que se consideraba apropiado unos años antes, ahora parecía ingenuo e irresponsable. Aunque el hair metal y su imagen festiva aún vendía, las señales de su muerte estaban por todas partes. La prueba más condenable la proporcionó el film del 88 de la directora Penelope Spheeris, El declive de la civilización occidental, parte 2, Los años del metal.
We are not role models for your life.
El intenso documental mostró lo que había degenerado la escena glamorosa de Los Ángeles.
One night I was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and I noticed that no one could even move because the boulevard was so crowded with all these people with giant hairdos. And so I said, I think it's time to make another movie, so I started Decline Part 2. I know that all the girls in the audience are going to want to know this.
16 inches. Okay.
No! No!
Combination all four piece.
With all of the guys, I said to them, how would you like to be interviewed, right? And, you know, Ozzy said, oh, I don't give a just get me in my bathrobe. Okay, fine.
I have a disease called alcoholism and drug dependency.
Gene Simmons said, I don't want to do anything tacky. How about a lingerie store?
Aye, aye, aye.
And then, of course, Chris Holmes in the swimming pool. He said he didn't care where he was going to be interviewed as long as he could be drinking vodka. And I said, the only thing is I really want to have your mom there, Sandy, because I had met her. And so he agreed.
Do you think that maybe this kind of rock and roll lifestyle is hard on you and maybe that's why you drink?
Well, I'm a full-blown alcoholic. And why I drink is because, what?
What? But why do you drink, Chris?
Because it makes me happy.
After I shot that, I thought I didn't get anything. I thought, oh, what are we going to do? We got nothing. He was just goofing off, didn't get anything. And then when we started looking at it, we were like, oh, my God. It was heavy stuff.
You think you might be covering up some pain?
Yeah. Okay.
What would that be from, I wonder?
Oh, here. Do you like this label? Sure.
Let's not avoid the issue. What would that be from?
Okay, here. Watch.
Do you wish, Chris?
When you saw the Chris Holmes part, he's just guzzling in the pool. I saw that, and what was funny, all of a sudden became very sad.
I think the Decline in Western Civilization, Part 2, really opened people's eyes up to metal. After seeing the movie, I was kind of like, man, there are a lot of creeps in Los Angeles, aren't there?
The new generation of kids don't want to be associated with something that lame, that's pathetic. It's like, I don't want to be like that. When everything becomes the stereotype, and the stereotype is absolutely pathetic, then it's time to move on.
El punto de vista del declive sobre la escena de Sunset Strip sin duda fue cuerdo. El movimiento glam que había traído el metal al mundo se había vuelto una víctima del capitalismo y de sí mismo. La fiesta había terminado.
The glam scene needed to be in a coffin. Everybody was copying each other. It never grew, and everybody was just trying to get their hair bigger and more makeup on at one time and do their really ridiculous poses.
Times have changed, and times are strange.
It was kind of like taking Van Halen and turning it up 100 times, but in all the wrong directions.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get lipstick on you there.
You know, anything that's overexposed gets old, okay? When I Remember You was on the TV every 10 seconds, I was sick of me.
When these bands soften their sound, it did them in because you turn your back on that initial audience that supported you, and if they're gone, that's when you're screwed. And that happened to a lot of bands.
It had to die. And I was glad it died, even though, you know, my career was over because it had been watered down and destroyed.
Swing!